This episode of Says Who is brought to you by you. Yeah, you right now listening to my voice because you support it at I got lost there. I got lost. The
Are you
direct
okay?
address got me lost there for a moment. But anyway,
Okay.
brought to you by you through your support of our Patreon at patreon.com/sayswho. Look at that. I'm back on the bike.
You're back.
That's our Patreon, where every Sunday, pretty much every Sunday, you get this all over again. You get me and Maureen doing a little thing that we call the Town Watch, which is essentially this now. So enjoy it. That's if you give it the $5 or $10 a month level. That $10 a month level also gets you a sticker in the mail. Every month, you become a member of the Says Who Sticker Club. The March stickers are arriving, I think, tomorrow. We'll be packing them up. They're always packed by a 10-year-old. He gets $10, and then we go to the game store. Anyway,
that's decent
it's
money.
decent. Yeah, he doesn't do all the work. He just puts his.
But he gets $10, and
yeah, he's.
But does he like to do it? Does he? It's like a cool job.
Yeah, he's into it now. He used to kind of groan about it. Then I explained to him the importance of shipping.
And then did you explain that? He's like, Maureen, Auntie Maureen, she used to mend her grandmother's and her aunt's dresses for $1 and then clean their floors for $0.25 with a rag.
Anyway, that's all for you at patreon.com/sayswho.
Back on my bullshit. Buy Death at Morning House.
Look at that. You're back,
I just think
baby.
you should. Look, it's a whodunit mystery. It's a pure whodunit, but it's also anti-fascist, anti-eugenics. Perhaps it is the book for the times. It may suit your mood. I just realized one thing I didn't mean to be on point about with it was its the relationship with Canada in the book, but that comes up too. It's good for the times. Death at Morning House.
Are you dying right now?
I've had a scratchy throat for days, and I don't know why.
Just
Springtime.
Maureen has written books like the aforementioned Death at Morning House. You can buy them on the internet at kickbezosintheballs.org. That's our own little bookshop where we sell Maureen stuff and really any stuff. Book-related, book-shaped stuff at kickbezosintheballs.org. Other things that are not book-shaped, you can buy at merch.sayswhopodcast.com. Those are often things that are shirt-shaped or mug-shaped. And if you want something that's patch-shaped, you can always go to shop.dansinker.com. I'm apparently selling everything by shape, Maureen.
You know what I would love is a patch of the little cartoons of the two of us in the trash can. Little we can work with this one.
That. I like that idea.
That as a patch.
All right, I can look into that. We can look into that.
All right, well then you get all that shit. I will say, I am a consumer of. I like a Patreon. I like a bonus episode.
Hey, hang on, just a second, Maureen. Okay,
do we have to stop and re-record?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just had to answer something. You go ahead. What were you saying?
Do you want me to take it from the? All right.
No, just
as
go
an
ahead.
I was talking about Patreon and stuff. As an avid consumer of Patreon.
Hang on. Hold on. I'm getting another text here.
Do you want me to just wait?
No, it's fine. It's fine. This should be quick.
Who is texting
nothing?
You?
It's okay. You go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
As an avid consumer of Patreon.
Hang on. I'm getting another. Getting another text.
There.
Okay. No, go ahead. Nothing.
Just who is it? Do you need to just call them?
No. I definitely don't need to call them. You just go. You go ahead.
Who is texting you?
No one.
As an avid consumer of Patreon, Watcher TV, bonus episodes.
Okay.
Dan.
What?
I think we should wait and record when you're paying attention.
I'm getting a few texts right now, Maureen.
I think you either have to answer those texts or put your phone away.
Well, I definitely can't answer the texts.
I don't know.
It's fine. You just go.
No,
ahead.
I don't really think that we can do this until you tell me who's texting you.
Well, I don't think Rudy would want me to tell. I mean,
excuse me.
Nothing.
You just said Rudy.
That's okay. It's
Dan.
It's nothing.
Dan
it's nothing.
Dan. Dan,
Yeah.
is Rudy Giuliani texting you?
He's not texting me per se.
Who's he texting?
There's a lot of people on this thread.
What is he saying?
I mean, what does anyone say really when you think about
What?
it?
I don't hold on one second. Oh,
Huh?
I don't think
I
there
think
should
we
be
can get
2
going,
of
Maureen.
those.
What
I'm
is
sorry,
going on?
I just have to look at this
What?
picture someone sent me.
Okay.
Oh, that's swollen. Oh, I don't like that. Wait, what is that? Hold on.
Maureen, are you
Oh.
on this thread now?
Welcome.
I just knocked something over.
What were those? It sounded like spoons.
It was a ruler.
Okay. It sounded like, oh, I just dropped my bag of spoons.
It was sort of my bag of spoons.
Welcome to
Kind of
SaysWhovia
ruined
podcast.
I ruined our thing.
It was.
It's fine.
I think they got it. I think
I
people
think they
got
did.
it. I think they know what it was about.
Okay.
The
Good.
podcast. It isn't a podcast. It's Dan Sinker.
A coping strategy. I am Dan Sinker.
I am Maureen Johnson. What a week.
I mean, let's not get into it yet.
I just want to say what a week.
I mean, it's Tuesday.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Why do you have a little rainbow balloon hovering off to the right?
Oh, that's not okay. That's just so I have a desk lamp here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it has like various little doodads hanging from it.
I
It's
thought
just
that was a
lower than.
Mylar rainbow balloon.
Oh, you know how
hanging.
I have balloons on my desk.
Yeah, I thought maybe you were just, freshening things up.
No, my desk, well, you can't see it. It's behind the monitor. I have a selection of balloons every day.
I love it.
I'm just an author and her balloons.
There was a moment in time, I think it was a very brief moment in time when I was quite a bit younger, that I was like, some people get like bouquets of flowers. I think it'd be fun to have just bouquet of balloons every now and then. There was like a balloon shop on the walk from the train to my apartment. I was in college. I was in art school.
Yeah. You probably wanted to be like punk balloons.
No, I wanted them to be regular balloons. There were two things that were on the walk back from the train to my apartment. One was Popeye's chicken, which at the time I was vegetarian, but I would eat the fuck out of those biscuits. Holy Jesus, I ate a lot of biscuits when I was like 19 years old. And then there was like a balloon place. It was like a balloon and piñata place.
Yeah,
And
look,
get a couple of balloons.
Why has no one opened up a balloon and chicken stand? It sounds like the kind of thing you could open up in Roller Coaster Tycoon, the game where I once killed a costume character by dropping him into an ornamental fountain.
It happens.
Fountain.
Yep.
My friend didn't even know you could kill people in that game.
I didn't know you could kill people in that game. They just vomited a lot.
No, you can accidentally kill your costume tiger if you drop him in a fountain and aren't good enough at getting him out.
My favorite thing about that game is when you open a roller coaster that's a little too much, and then the exit queue is just full of vomit. Just dripping.
It's because I don't game that often. It's like, oh, I gotta level the ground, and then I gotta figure out how to put these stupid walkways in. Like, I'm just like, just let me build food stands. And
you just want food stand tycoon.
I just make it a single click with the pathways. I don't want to deal with the leveling of the ground and the angles, like that pain in the ass stuff. No, thank you.
No,
thank you.
There's like a modern update of Roller Coaster Tycoon called Planet Coaster that I got real obsessed with for a while, because it allows for just a level of detail and building that's just craziness. I built like an entire Haunted Mansion style thing from scratch. You like lay out the little thing, you put like little ghosts all over, little lighting and stuff. Man, I lost a lot of time to that game. It was great.
Yeah, I play these things for such a limited amount of time that I'm just like, God, who has time for this? And then I just,
Yeah. My
just
problem
give
is
me.
I don't, and then I'll get obsessed with them, and then I'll
Yeah.
find the quote unquote find the time.
Listen, it's games are a great way to work off some of our stress right now, as is steam cleaning.
Yeah, for the non Patreon folks, Maureen
Bought a steam
announced
cleaner.
that she's bought a steam cleaner.
It's the new planner
I don't totally understand the equivalency there, but
because it'll fix my life.
okay.
And I feel like a Ghostbuster because it has like a tube. It's a little square thing. It looks like an Apple product almost. It's a little square white box, tiny, tiny on wheels. You
Okay.
fill it up, and that thing shoots for like an hour, and then has a little, and all the garbage comes off.
Okay.
So good. Everything's fixed now.
Is it? It's all
Dan,
good now?
I have moved from my nightly nightmare state where every single night I was having nightmares because of what's going on
Yeah.
to a kind of, I'm going to describe it as the annoyance stage, where
Yeah.
last night I replayed some bit of news in my dream.
Oh
Like
no.
I was trying to explain it to someone and it wasn't succeeding, and it went
Uh-huh.
on like 20 times
Yeah.
to the point where I woke up at 4 in the morning so disgusted that I was like, do I just get up? Like, I just can't take this.
Yeah.
And I thought about waking up. I thought, I'm like, do I just start my day at 4 a.m.? Maybe. And then I was like, no, go back to bed. And then I just put in like a little like sleep cast headspace thing to listen to because I was
Yeah.
like, you need to get this, whatever this news story was, out of my head because it was
Yeah.
just going on a constant loop.
Yeah.
So that's progress.
Can I tell you about the dream that I had the other day?
I'd love to hear it.
I had a dream that I found a biography written by the dog that married Airbud. And it was about Airbud, and it was called Air Husband.
You gotta write the fanfic.
That was the entire dream. I don't know why. I don't know why Airbud was sitting in my head in any way, shape, or form. That was a real golden moment for animals doing sports movies after Airbud hit.
I used to go to a laundromat in Queens when I lived there that only played the movie Air Bud 2 in Spanish on its
Yes.
TV. That it played some Spanish, like Mexican soap operas, and Air Bud 2 in Spanish.
That is
It was
beautiful.
always Air Bud 2.
My favorite Airbud knockoff film is called MVP, Most Vertical Primate, and it was about a monkey that skateboards.
I would love, just sidebar, I would fucking love to meet a monkey.
Just generally? Any monkey?
Dan, when I took my cruise with Robert and Wasserman, where we were trying to pitch a kidlit book, like we had an amazing story, and we wrote it, and we trapped ourselves on a cruise ship to create the pitch. And that was the boat where we saw an explosion, then we got locked in, and then we eventually would get kidnapped by Judy Bloom. Like all of these things
Yeah.
happened to us.
Yeah.
But when we got off dock on, I think it was the day that we saw a boat explode. We got off and we walked
Sure.
around. We saw a boat explode. This was quite a week. We turned this corner into and this plaza where the everyone gets off the boat, where they meet
Yeah.
the tourists. And the clear difference between my friend Robin and I was that a man stepped forward covered in monkeys, like an adult monkey and 2 baby monkeys, and was like, "You want to
Wow.
hold a monkey?" And Robin was like, "Fuck no, get those away from me." And I was like, "This is my dream. Cover me in monkeys." And I was immediately covered in monkeys. Like the baby monkey climbed on me and took my sunglasses, and I was so happy I became paralyzed.
Wow.
I couldn't even understand how happy I was. Um, I was almost shaking with joy because I've always wanted to meet a monkey, and I Rob was like, "Ah, this disease," and I was like, "Oh, this is the best moment of my entire life." And then I was like, "What do you want in exchange? You want money? I'll give you my." And it turns out all he was trying to sell were like, I don't know, it was like, I don't remember what it was, but I kept trying to give him stuff in exchange for letting this monkey. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Do you want the like, do you what do you want? What do you want?" And, I still think about it sometimes, how happy I was. I didn't want a picture. Oh, he's 'cause you had to pay for the picture, and I was like, "I don't want a picture. I just wanna be here right now with this monkey on my head."
Wow.
I was so happy.
Well, that feels like a high that you can re reacquaint yourself with.
How?
I mean, there are monkeys in the world.
Yeah, but it's a how do I ethically meet a monkey?
I
Actually.
had a
Mhm.
friend a number of years ago. I mean, I still have the friend, but for a while we were all in the same place. And she was a dissident journalist from Zimbabwe and was living in the States and was completely incredulous to the fact that we did not understand any of her baboon related complaints. Because she was just like, they just get everywhere. They're like, what are these things? These things that are like baboons? And we were like, squirrels? She was like, yes, they're like
Oh.
squirrels.
I would love to meet a gorilla. Oh my god.
When the now teen, soon to not be teen, fuck am I gonna do with that information?
Well,
Uh
he's not. He's over 18.
he's still a
He's
teen. 19 has the word
okay.
teen in it.
Alright, okay.
Uh
Not for long.
I know. When
Not for
he
long.
was very little, uh we would drop Janice at her job, and then we would do one of two things. Either she was working like part time, and we would kill time till she was done. Sometimes, not every time, but sometimes. And one of the things that we would do is we would go to the Lincoln Park Zoo, which is free, so you can just go to the zoo, and we would hang out. It would be just when it had just opened, and so we would hang out with the gorillas in the gorilla thing while they were just like lolling around, just waking up and like eating their lettuce breakfast. It was great.
Jenlyn Barnes, who wrote The Inheritance Game, is a friend. She's Dr. Jenlyn Barnes. She has her PhD from Yale in, I believe it's in, cognitive science, or, um, it's something a similar field, and she did research on, like, Monkey Island for a
Okay.
while, but it was either Jen or someone else that I knew that was a primatologist that had access to, like, a primate place in America, and they were like, "We will get you in it when you come to Florida," or whatever,
Okay.
and I was like, "My dream is about to happen. I'm going to meet a monkey,"
Yeah.
and, like, the timings just didn't work out, but I still, like, look, says Huvia, if any of you have a way for me to ethically meet a monkey or gorilla, please get in touch at once. I I can't explain how much I would love to just sit and have some time with one of them. God, I would love it.
I mean, I think that this is an achievable dream.
It has to be, I mean, because you should know monkeys are pet, like, gotta be ethical. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw one wild monkey once in Costa Rica. He was in the tree above us, and I was
Yeah.
like, "I'm so close to the dream." But I
Well, there you
wasn't sure if
go.
we were actually meeting because he was in the tree above me.
Right.
That was the same place where we had a giant snake in the kitchen, like a big one, like
Probably I
a
would not.
potentially dangerous snake.
We'll get to the snake in a second. I want to address the monkey in the tree.
Sure.
I probably wouldn't have a tree monkey just crawling on me.
No, he was
I
right
think a
above
whole
us, like,
movie was made about that.
about not getting a monkey. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he looked sad because I think he didn't have any friends, and I was very worried about him, and he was trying to,
seems
like,
he seems
because
very
he was
reasonable.
alone, and then he looked really sad, and he was trying there were orange lights hung on strings, and he kept reaching for it because I think he thought it was fruit, and I sat there worrying about the monkey for a long time because I thought he
Okay.
was sad,
Yeah.
and I'm frankly still worried,
Okay.
um, but yes, there was a giant 'cause the house had a big indoor-outdoor section, so the living room area and the kitchen area was in it had a roof,
Yeah.
but it was open entirely towards the ocean, so, like, the it had the bedroom areas were closed, but then this kind
Okay.
of main area was open air, and someone went into the kitchen one night, and there was a giant snake, like a giant Costa Rican snake was in there.
What do you do in a situation where there's a giant Costa Rican snake in your kitchen?
She ran away crying and screaming.
And then you just waited for it to go?
The snake escaped.
So then there's a snake
There
hanging
is
out
there's lots of snakes, but it was open air,
just
like,
out of
it's just
sight,
my friend
watching
Cassie
your every move.
my friend Cassie was in, I believe, Thailand, where they had an open air bathroom, like, it's enclosed, but it's open on the top, so
Yeah.
it has walls around it,
Yeah.
and apparently but there was an indoor bathtub, and apparently they came in one day, and there was a snake in their room that she managed to get a good enough look at to realize it was deadly, like, it was
Oh,
a
that's good.
venomous, deadly snake.
Yeah.
It was bright green, I believe,
Okay.
and it was inside their room. And she's like, "Yeah, and I saw it, and it was, so we called down and we said there was a snake in." And they looked through the entire room.
Yeah.
Like, apparently they even, like, they looked in places, like, every crevice, every area of this room,
Okay.
and they couldn't find it, and they're like, "Sorry, we can't find the poisonous snake in your room." And Cassie's, "Okay." And then she seemed surprisingly brave about it. I would have been like, "No." I would have launched myself into space, but she's like, "Well, it seems to be gone, I guess." I'm like, "No, it's at the foot of your bed. Like, it's in the sheets with you. It's on
Yeah,
your
it
head."
seems I would want to know.
She's very brave, is Cassie. She's a
Okay.
good traveler. She's very sturdy in these situations.
Okay. In the are there often snake situations?
She's a kind of a world. She grew up like her parents were sort of world travelers. She grew up like on their back in a backpack as they like trek the Himalayas or something. Like
Okay.
she's like, sometimes there are snakes, and I was like, yeah,
Sometimes.
but some of them are deadly and some of them are in your room. And she's like, yep, that happens. I was like,
All
ah.
right.
But Dan,
Yeah.
yesterday,
Mhm.
see, I bought this package of Pilates classes last year. I have to quick use them up
Okay.
because mine are about to
This
expire.
wasn't where I thought you were going, so I'm in. I'm
We're
in.
gonna
I
we're
don't
gonna
know where
we're
we're
gonna get
heading.
there. I'll tell
Okay.
you where we're gonna get. So I booked one for yesterday at 5:15, and I got there right on time. And the place was like pretty empty. And it's like it looks like a dance studio. It's kind of open, and there's like people just working, and like there are students that study their Pilates, and they just come and work out. And it turns out my class was at 6:15. I was a full hour early.
Okay.
And I was like, I didn't really think I had the hour to, I was like, oh, there's no time to go home and come back again. Like, it doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. Fuck, I guess I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah.
So I was like, can I just sit on a machine? And, they're like, sure, go ahead. So I sat on a machine then. And what I chose to do
Mhm.
was I chose to listen to a little reading of a news story that had come
Mm.
out that day.
Yeah.
And it was, you may have heard about it, Dan.
Oh, really?
It was a little news story that was unfortunately read by an AI voice,
Okay.
but about an editor at a magazine
Ah,
getting
yeah. I'm
texts.
familiar with this story.
Did you hear about this?
I did. I
Can we
did, in
please?
fact.
Okay, let's
This
go.
is what we're here to talk about, Maureen.
I'm so excited.
So yesterday, Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, revealed that he had been inadvertently included on a text chain as everyone at the highest levels of government was planning the attack on the Houthis last week. That's not usually how things work.
Mm.
You don't usually include the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic on your war planning.
I mean,
But
you're a journalist, you're a
I
reporter. Do you
am.
sometimes get text from, Pete and Marco and
No.
the gang?
No. And in fact, we'll get into just how incredulous Jeffrey Goldberg is at the idea that he actually was included on these texts. That's actually my favorite part of his narrative, is like at every stage, he's just like, and I still didn't think this was real, because why the fuck would this be real? But before we get into it, Maureen,
Yeah.
I want to just point out an important piece of SaysWho addendum, which is Jeffrey Goldberg was the same author as the 2007 story about Chuck Schumer and his imaginary family, the Baileys, that we talked about last week.
And I really hope you've heard last week's episode about the Baileys, because it just may be one of my favorite stories of all time.
Are we just a Goldberg cast now?
All right. Do you know him? Can we get him on here? Let's go.
I don't know him.
He may
I could
be in
talk at
jail
length
soon.
about early 2000s WCW wrestler Bill Goldberg. I could talk a lot about Bill Goldberg if we wanted to do that, and his incredible undefeated streak. But anyway, Jeffrey Goldberg, not Bill Goldberg. I'm just going to straight up read from this story.
It's really good.
On Tuesday, March 11th, I received a connection request on Signal from a user identified as Michael Waltz. Signal is an open source encrypted messaging service popular with journalists and others who seek more privacy than other text messaging services are capable of delivering. I assumed that the Michael Waltz in question was President Donald Trump's national security advisor. I did not assume, however, that the request was from the actual Michael Waltz. I have met him in the past, and though I didn't find it particularly strange that he might be reaching out to me, I did think it's somewhat unusual given the Trump administration's contentious relationship with journalists and Trump's periodic fixation on me specifically. It immediately crossed my mind that someone could be masquerading as Waltz in order to somehow entrap me. It's not all that uncommon these days for nefarious actors to try to induce journalists to share information that could be used against them. I accepted the connection request, hoping that this was the actual national security advisor and that he wanted to chat about Ukraine or Iran or some other important matter. So that's his setup.
Mm-hmm.
He gets out of nowhere a Signal request for basically be my buddy, right? Be my Signal friend. And he's like, this is totally not the guy, but on the off chance that maybe it's the guy, I'll accept the request. All right. 2 days later, Thursday, at 4:28 p.m., I received a notice that I was to be included in a Signal chat group. It was called Houthi PC Small Group. A message to the group from Michael Waltz, which he puts in quotes, right? Reads as follows. Team, establishing a principals group for coordination on Houthis, particularly for over the next 72 hours. My deputy, Alex Wong, is pulling together a Tiger team at deputy/agency, chief of staff level, following up on the meeting in the sit room this morning for action items, and we'll be sending that out later this evening. So that had to have been a bit of a thing.
I just want to put a little pin in this to come back to the fact that at some point, as we get further in the story, I want to bring in the idea of the show Slow Horses.
Yeah.
Which is, if you haven't seen it, is about inept spies that have to go to the inept spy holding cell.
Yeah.
And they're called Slow Horses. And there was a whole episode about Tiger teams. So I just want to say that some of this is skirting a little close, but go on.
The term Principals Committee generally refers to a group of the senior-most national security officials, including the Secretaries of Defense, State, and the Treasury, as well as the Director of the CIA. It should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that I've never been invited to a White House Principals Committee meeting, and that in my many years of reporting on national security matters, I had never heard of one being convened over a commercial messaging app. All right.
Which I think is
Valid.
valid.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
Great.
We're gonna work through his narrative before we get to the many issues here. 1 minute later, a person only identified as MAR, the Secretary of State is Marco Antonio Rubio, wrote, "Mike Needham for State," apparently designating the current counselor of the State Department as his representative. I'm going to read this slightly out of order, okay? After that, TG, presumably Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, or someone masquerading as her, wrote Joe Kent for DNI, DNI being Director of National Intelligence. Minutes later, Scott B., apparently Treasury Secretary Scott Bessnet, or someone spoofing his identity, wrote Dan Katz for Treasury. Okay, I'm going to go back to this one. At the same moment, a Signal user identified as JD Vance wrote Andy Baker for VP. So I just love this because you've got Marco Rubio, who's just MAR, and you've got Tulsi Gabbard, who's TG, and you've got this other guy who's like Scott B, and then you've got, hey guys, I'm JD Vance! I'm the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance. That's my entire username. Like, what the fuck? Everyone else is like, hey man, be cool. And he's like, hey, it's me.
If you haven't seen it, go watch Haley Joe Osment playing JD Vance trying to order a donut. And I feel like we'll have a very good encapsulation of this exact. So just to be clear, the people on the Signal chat, were they these people or they were actually the stand-ins for these people?
They seem to be these people. And then they're saying, hey, these are my stand-in folk that I want to have looped in or whatever, right?
Okay.
So the only other person that seems to just have their full name as their username, Pete Hegseth, who then wrote Dan Caldwell for DOD, for the Department of Defense.
Does he have a little cocktail glass after, like an emoticon?
Ching! Yeah. One more person responded. John Ratcliffe wrote at 5:24 p.m. with the name of a CIA. John Ratcliffe is the head of the CIA. Responded with the name of a CIA official to be included in the group. I am not publishing that name because that person is an active intelligence officer.
And I want to say shout out to that person right now who must be feeling not great.
Yeah. Yeah. Principals had apparently assembled. In all, 18 individuals were listed as members of this group, including various National Security Council officials. Steve Witkoff, President Trump's Middle East and Ukraine negotiator, we'll get to him again in a moment. Susan Wiles, the White House Chief of Staff, and somebody only identified as SM, which I took to stand for Stephen Miller. I appeared on my own screen only as JG.
So he's just in the corner of the room like the fucking Babadook, just like...
He's just sitting there being like, what the fuck?
The more I think about it, the funnier it gets. It's the new Four Seasons. Let's go.
After receiving the Waltz text related to the Houthi PC small group, I consulted a number of colleagues.
Hey, guys.
Keep in mind, again, this man is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. This is not some, hump freelancer. This is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
He has a long career, and they are all at, high-end, fancy person magazines, right? Now he's the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. I consulted a number of colleagues. We discussed the possibility that these texts were part of a disinformation campaign initiated by either a foreign intelligence service or, more likely, a media gadfly organization. By that, I think he means, what's his name? That little fucking O'Keefe motherfucker, right? Initiated by either a foreign intelligence service or, more likely, blah, blah, blah. The sort of group that attempts to place journalists in embarrassing positions and sometimes succeeds. I had very strong doubts that this text group was real because I could not believe that the national security leadership of the United States would communicate on Signal about imminent war plans. I also could not believe that the national security advisor to the president would be so reckless as to include the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic in such discussions with senior U.S. officials, up to and including the vice president. Imagine, Maureen, that you are faced with two things, two options here. Either A, these people are all fucking stupid as shit, or B, I personally am at the
punked.
center of a foreign disinformation campaign because there's no way that these people are this fucking stupid. So this is the realistic and reasonable explanation for what's in front of me.
I would be confused and concerned.
Yeah, a little bit. Yet you're also just going to be like, I guess I'm just fucking sitting here. See how this plays out.
Can you imagine? And you're with your partner or whatever. They're like, just put your phone down. You're like, I genuinely can't.
Yeah.
This is one of those times where like, you know what? I really actually can't put my phone down.
So, and I'm cutting and pasting here to move us along. The next day, things got even stranger. At 8:05 a.m. on Friday, March 14th, Michael Waltz texted the group. Team, you should have a statement of conclusions with taskings per the president's guidance this morning in your high side inboxes. Then he puts in parentheses, high side in government parlance refers to classified computer and communications systems. Now, here's the thing, Maureen. They know that the high side exists.
Mm-hmm.
They're sending things to the high side.
Mm-hmm.
They're not communicating on the high side.
No.
But they get that that's a thing that you use.
Yeah.
All right, I like this part. At this point, a fascinating policy discussion commenced. The account labeled, "Hey guys, it's me, JD Vance." That isn't actually what it's labeled, but it's just labeled JD Vance.
More or less.
Responded at 8:16. Team, I'm out for the day doing an economic event in Michigan, but I think we are making a mistake. And then he puts in parentheses, Vance was indeed in Michigan that day. The Vance account goes on to state, quote, 3% of the U.S. trade runs through the Suez Canal. 40% of European trade does. There is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. The strongest reason to do this, as POTUS said, is to send a message. Like right here. So basically Vance is saying, this is more important to Europe than to us. So why bother? A few minutes later, the Michael Waltz account posted a lengthy note about trade figures and the limited capabilities of European navies. Quote, whether it's now or several weeks from now, it will have to be the United States that reopens these shipping lanes. Per the president's request, we are working with DOD and state to determine how to compile the cost associated and levy them on the Europeans. The account identified as JD Vance addressed the message at 8:45 to Pete Hegseth. If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. Then Hegseth responds, VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's all caps. Pathetic. But Mike is correct. We're the only ones on the planet, on our side of the ledger, who can do this. It's worth noting that at this point in the article, there's straight up screenshots of all of this. Mm-hmm. But Goldberg still adds this.
Is at home holding his phone?
The texts, in their word choice and arguments, sounded as if they were written by the people who purportedly sent them, or by a particularly adept AI text generator. I was still concerned that this could be a disinformation operation or a simulation of some sort, and I remained mystified that no one in the group seemed to have noticed my presence. But if it was a hoax, the quality of mimicry and the level of foreign policy insight were impressive.
I think it's almost scarier to think that someone is putting on a show of this complexity just for you.
Right. That's the thing. Like, he's like, again, this feels crazy, but it
Right.
almost feels crazier if it's not, right? Like, it's starting to dawn on him at this
It's
point.
personally safer for him if they're
Yeah, much.
all idiots. It's just much scarier for the rest of us.
Yes. It was the next morning, Saturday, March 15th, when this story became truly bizarre. At 11:44 a.m., the account labeled Pete Hegseth posted in Signal a team update. I will not quote.
He's just finished his breakfast wines.
Yeah. I will not quote from this update or from certain other subsequent texts. The information contained in them, if they had been read by an adversary of the United States, could conceivably have been used to harm American military and intelligence personnel, particularly in the broader Middle East, Central Command's area of responsibility. What I will say, in order to illustrate the shocking recklessness of this Signal conversation, is that Hegseth's post contained operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen, including information about targets, weapons the U.S. would be deploying, and attack sequencing. The only person to reply to the update from Hegseth was the person identified as the vice president. I will say a prayer for victory, Vance wrote. 2 other users subsequently added prayer emojis.
Dan, we're all gonna die. Like, okay.
According to the lengthy Hegseth text, the first detonations in Yemen would be felt 2 hours hence at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so he gets this text from Pete Hegseth that's like, all right, we're going to start bombing at 1:45 Eastern Time. This is perhaps my favorite detail in the entire piece, Maureen. So I waited in my car in a supermarket parking lot.
That's the sentence on which this whole story spins.
This man is sitting in a fucking Costco parking lot. His trunk is fucking full of paper towels and like an extra big bag of chicken wings. And he's just sitting there.
He's not going to text. It's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen.
He's just sitting. His like 50 pack of popsicles is melting a little bit. He's just waiting. If this Signal chat was real, he reasoned, Houthi targets would soon be bombed. At about 1:55, I checked Twitter and searched Yemen. Explosions were then being heard across Sana'a, the capital city. I went back to the Signal channel.
I bet you did.
At 1:48, Michael Waltz had provided the group an update. Again, I won't quote from this text, except to note that he described the operation as, quote, an amazing job. A few minutes later, John Ratcliffe wrote, a good start. Not long after, Waltz responded with 3 emoji, a fist, an American flag, and fire.
Fuck yeah!
Others soon joined in, including MAR. Again, that's that's Marco Rubio, who wrote, good job, Pete, and your team. And Susie Wiles, that's the White House Chief of Staff, who texted, kudos to all, most particularly those in theater and CENTCOM. Really great, God bless. Steve Witkoff responded with 5 emoji, 2 hands praying, a flexed bicep, and 2 American flags.
Fuck yeah.
TG, that's Tulsi Gabbard, responded, great work and effects. The after-action discussion included assessments of damage done, including the likely death of a specific individual. The Houthi-run Yemeni Health Ministry reported that at least 53 people were killed in the strikes, a number that has not been independently verified. So at this point, Goldberg is like, fuck, I really am in this group chat. Finally, he decides this is real. And so he removes himself from the chat.
Would you have done that?
No.
Yep.
Firmly and completely would not have.
Right. Why do you think he removes himself at this point? I know it's going to be, but like, I just want your gut on this.
It is journalistic politically proper, right? Like he knows that he's not supposed to see this stuff. I think also he knows he's got a story here, right? And he's like, I gotta get out. I don't totally understand it myself.
Or
If
a
for no
little bit
other
like,
reason, man, I would want to be in the group chat yesterday when the story drops and they all realize that someone else is fucking sitting in the chat. At that point, I'd be like, hey. and then I'd sign out.
what if JG just always responds with a prayer emoji?
Yeah.
He'd fit right in. They'd be like,
definitely.
okay.
Absolutely.
DS
right.
has entered the chat. Who's DS?
So then he does his due diligence, right? Like he's gonna try to get somebody to respond. Earlier today, I emailed Waltz, and so this is yesterday, Monday. I emailed Waltz and sent him a message on his Signal account. I also wrote to Pete Hegseth, John Ratcliffe, Tulsi Gabbard, and other officials. In an email, I outlined some of my questions. Is the Houthi PC small group a genuine Signal thread? Did they know that I was included in this group? Was I, on the off chance, included on purpose? If not, who did they think I was? That's a great question.
Yeah.
Did anyone realize? Like, think about it. There's some fucking toady in the government who's like, how come I'm not on this chat? Like, do they hate me? What the fuck? I think I would be on this chat. And he's not, because his name is like Jeffrey Goldstein or something.
You guys, so are we bombing? You know, like, are you bombing something without me?
Did anyone realize who I was when I was added or when I removed myself from the group? Do senior Trump administration officials use Signal regularly for sensitive discussions? Do the officials believe that the use of such a channel could endanger American personnel? Brian Hughes, the spokesperson for the National Security Council, responded 2 hours later, confirming the veracity of the Signal group. Quote, this appears to be an authentic message chain, and we are reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to the chain. Goldberg goes on to ask some lawyers essentially like, what the fuck, right? All of these lawyers said that a U.S. official should not establish a Signal thread in the first place. Information about an active operation would presumably fit the law's definition of national defense information. The Signal app is not approved by the government for sharing classified information. The government has its own systems for that purpose. If officials want to discuss military activity, they should go to a specifically designated space known as a Sensitive Compartmentalized Information Facility, or SCIF. Most cabinet-level national security officials have one installed in their home or communicate only on approved government equipment, the lawyers said. Normally, cell phones are not permitted inside a SCIF, which suggests that these officials were sharing information about an active military operation they could have been moving around in public. Had they lost their phone or had they been stolen, the potential risk to national security would have been severe.
Or had they just included a reporter in the entire thing?
Yeah, there's that too. Whew. Maureen, adding a journalist to your war chat is a bad idea generally, but also there should not have been a single Signal group chat about this anyway, right? Like he mentions this here, but the United States has hundreds of billion-dollar secure communications infrastructure that spans the globe for exactly this kind of shit. There are hardened phones that you get, and those talk on entirely separate wireless infrastructure. Like, that's the whole fucking point.
Yeah.
More than that, records are supposed to be kept for this kind of thing. Like, eventually all those records are released. It takes a very long time often, but they are kept because there are record retention laws. Using these things skirts all of this. And the thing to me that really stands out is nobody, right? And he's included in this chat early on, right? Like people are added on. The chat begins at that point.
Seems casual and familiar.
And nobody's like, oh, wow, whoa, Signal, look at this. I've never used this before. Weird, right? Like everyone's just like, oh, hey, what's up? New group chat, cool. So they're on Signal. Signal won't work on government-issued devices. So that means they're on personal devices, which means they can be compromised. So Pete Hegseth, he flew to Hawaii yesterday on the tarmac, asked by a reporter, can you share how your information about war plans was shared with a journalist? Fine question to ask. Hegseth, who I just want to add, seems like maybe he was dipping into Elon's supply a little bit. Because he's fucking jacked. That man is running hot. This whole time. He's like kind of scooting around. He's blinking a bunch. He kind of leans in a bunch and then he'll pull back a bunch.
Yeah. Yes.
I can't do it. It's going to kill me. Not him, though. Anyway. I got to get some water. Hang on. Okay. Got one of these bottles of water that I got in the Costco when I was sitting in the parking lot watching them plan their war plans.
Dan is dying. Just while he's drinking water, I just want to say that I handle Signal more carefully than these people do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, okay. This reporter asks him, can you share how your information about war plans was shared with this journalist? And Hegseth, again, fucking flying, is all, so you're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who was made a profession of peddling hoaxes. I'm just wondering, Maureen, you might be more concerned then that he was in your group chat. Just gonna say.
I just wonder what old Pete did when he realized this had happened.
I'm gonna go with drink.
Drugs. Yeah. I mean, both. Why not both? Honestly.
He definitely was. He was up for sure on that interview. Anyway, today, Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe, and Tulsi Gabbard, impossibly the head of the Director of National Intelligence, and John Ratcliffe, head of the CIA, they were actually set to testify for a routine Senate check-in today. Turned into open season on those two fucks instead. Turns out Tulsi was in another country while this was unfolding. Doesn't say where. Won't say whether she used a personal device or not, though she was asked, because, quote, that's being reviewed. I think you would know.
Okay.
Ratcliffe, meanwhile, insisted that he didn't reveal any classified information. But he also won't reveal what was discussed because apparently that's not a thing you can discuss in an open session of the Senate, which seems a little bit tricky. Also, there's that whole thing where he personally reveals the name of an intelligence officer. So there's that.
There's that.
Also, Steve Witkoff. I'm going to go ahead and just read you this headline. As top Trump aides sent texts, this is CBS News, sent texts on Signal, flight data shows that a member of the group chat was in Russia. That would be Steve Witkoff, National Security Advisor, was chilling in Russia, chatting on a commercial phone.
Now, Dan, I see a little subheading next on your notes, but I'd like to cut in here for 1 second because you want to talk about operational security.
Yeah.
I just want to TLDR this a little bit.
Okay.
Do you remember back in the day when Trump would have people at Mar-a-Lago and just like they would just stick hard drives in machines at Mar-a-Lago, and
Yeah.
we're like Mar-a-Lago is just dripping from every bowl of soup you have has a microphone floating in it,
Yeah.
and they come out, they just whoop out of the plants, and
Yeah.
uh um that the people, they got that boat and they just
Yep.
logged onto the Wi-Fi and
Yeah.
they
We talked to ProPublica folks who had rented a boat, drove it
yeah.
around outside Mar-a-Lago, and just snooped all the Wi-Fi traffic.
Now, Dan, our concern at that time was like, wow, Trump is really insecure.
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago is really insecure.
Yeah.
Now, in this case,
Mm-hmm.
it's fucking everyone.
Yeah.
It's everyone,
It's everyone.
including apparently the CIA.
Yeah. CIA, DNI,
Sure, sure.
the whole national security apparatus apparently
And
just yapping away in a group chat.
and then you're in Russia where your phone is not only everything that guy is doing on his phone is being monitored.
Yeah.
There's no
Almost
privacy.
certainly.
Yes,
Almost
without a
certainly.
question.
Yeah. But as you said, I want to talk about operational security, right? Because I think there's a lot of people right now, including people listening, that care about whether or not things that they are discussing are secure, right? So, and there's a lot of question here around, were they having an unsecured conversation on a commercial chat app, et cetera, right? And so I think it's worth pointing out, Signal is great, right? Signal, for me chatting with you, for you chatting with a couple of people that you know, like, Signal is fantastic. It is the most secure messaging app out there for a whole bunch of reasons. It encrypts end to end, meaning that you can't read messages while they're in transit. They are encrypted. WhatsApp also does this. iMessage does it to some degree. They don't. I think they're moving it to all phones now, but for a while it used to have to be with iPhone users specifically. It also captures very little metadata about the people using it, so IP addresses and things like that are not collected, right? It's open source, so you know what it's doing. That is, if you can read the code and understand what it's doing, but you can entrust that people that can read the code believe in it, right? You have very good control over message disappearances. It's actually worth pointing out that at one point, the messages were set to disappear on this group chat after a certain amount of time, which again violates record retention laws. But for your own personal safety, having your messages disappear after a certain amount of time are great. It also doesn't upload backups to cloud services that could then be subpoenaed separately. Every security person I know, and I know some real hardcore security people, recommend Signal for your most secure communications. But group chats, especially large ones, are inherently insecure. I am on a very large WhatsApp group. It spans the globe, has hundreds of people in it, all of whom are journalists, right? And there was a discussion. We were all in a fellowship program at a certain point. So it's, nothing secure going through.
It's like you're on a Discord server, except it's just on WhatsApp.
Right. And at one point, there was a discussion of, hey, we should move this to Signal. And so I actually reached out to some security folks that I knew, because I was like, I don't think that that's going to solve the problem that people think it's going to solve. Right. And they were like, no, because group chats are insecure. Do you know why? Because they involve people. Mm-hmm. And people are inherently insecure. If you are on a very large group chat, you don't know everyone on that chat personally. You don't know what they're doing with the information that's coming through that chat, and you don't know the status of their device. Even though Signal encrypts end to end, and when you save it, the text inside it is when you close it down, the text inside it is encrypted. When you open it up, you can read that shit. And so somebody else can read that shit. whether they are standing over your shoulder, whether you're showing it to them, whether you're screenshotting, etc. People can see it. Assume that a group chat has somebody in it that's kind of shitty and might do shitty things, right? Like, that's how it goes. Like, and the bigger it gets, the bigger it gets. But 18 people plus the fucking editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, you've got a problem there. Signal doesn't solve that problem because you've got the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic in your group chat. So that's Dan's story of operational security. You can lock your shit down, but if people aren't locked down, then you're fucked.
Or the real lesson of all this is these aren't bright guys. They just aren't bright guys.
Yeah, things are totally in hand, but they're not bright guys.
The fact that we know about this means that there's so much more that is, it's all out there.
Right.
Just the U.S. stores of information are now broken.
Look, at me and you were both like choking to death talking about this.
Just trying to explain to our family in England. I don't, they get it, but they don't. I'm like, no, it's all broken.
Yeah.
Someone went in with a hammer.
Yeah.
Opened the thing with all the wires in it.
Yeah.
And like, they just had an axe and they just started chopping at it with an axe.
Yeah.
And now nothing works.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, these jabronis are out there like, hey, do you want to be in a super secret club? Click to accept super secret club. And then they're just, you know. It's so much. The fact that they've only included this reporter just one time means that like every bit of this is out there.
Right. What other conversations are happening that they haven't accidentally added a reporter to?
That aren't, or just aren't being monitored in every single way.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
the dumbest possible shit is happening.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's not great. / it's fucking hilarious. Like, it's insane. I cannot imagine being this man sitting in a fucking parking lot of the grocery store being like, oh shit, this really was real the whole time. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, he kind of doesn't believe it until the bombs fall.
Where he's sitting there. I want the scene where he's just like, oh, I want to see that. I want to see that. Yeah. Even if they just shoot that scene, that's fine with me.
Yeah. Anyway.
Says Who is brought to you by Super Secret Signal Group.
And also by you. Through your support of our Patreon at patreon.com/SaysWho, where who knows, maybe we'll add you to our super secret message group.
Our Super Soaker Club.
Our Super Soaker Club. Super Soakers. Originally invented by a Chicagoan. Anyway, patreon.com/SaysWho. Our theme music was performed by Ted Leo. Thank you, Ted. Our logo was designed by Darth. You can always contact us at SaysWhoPodcast.com on Blue Sky, at SaysWho at omfg.town on Mastodon. You can always email it, hey, that's HEY at SaysWhoPodcast.com. You can join the discussion on Facebook at /group/SaysWhovians. Our Facebook group is monitored by Janice Dillard. I feel like our Facebook group has more operational security than these fuckers. Like, Janice is always like, do you think when somebody new adds, she'll always be like, I think they're real. Anyway, if you want to join the fan run Discord server, you can visit tinyurl.com/SaysWho Discord. Whatever you do, spread the word, subscribe, leave stars and reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever it is that you listen. And you can join us next Wednesday. I have bad news for you. That's April 2nd. For our very next episode. And from my basement in Chicago, I am Dan Sinker.
And from a secret location revealed only to my Signal group, I'm Maureen Johnson.
This has been Says Who.